Late 1990s hip-hop was not just music. It was a movement, a shift in culture, a moment where voices from the streets became the loudest voices in the world. At the center of that storm stood three giants: DMX, the raw, emotional force with unmatched intensity; Jay-Z, the calculated businessman with lyrical precision; and Nas, the poetic storyteller whose words painted vivid pictures of life and struggle. Each of them came from different paths but arrived at the same destination: dominance. DMX was shaking the industry with a gritty, spiritual energy that felt almost unstoppable. His voice wasn't just heard, it was felt. Jay-Z, on the other hand, was redefining what it meant to be a rapper, blending street wisdom with business acumen, building an empire while crafting timeless verses. And Nas, already respected as one of the greatest lyricists alive, carried the weight of authenticity, delivering narratives that resonated deeply with fans across the globe. When the announcement came that these three icons would share the same stage on the Hard Knock Life tour, it felt historic. This wasn't just a concert, it was a cultural collision. Fans saw it as a once-in-a-lifetime moment where three kings would stand side by side, representing different sides of hip-hop excellence. But behind the excitement, there was tension brewing. These weren't just collaborators, they were competitors. Each artist had their own fan base, their own pride, and their own claim to the throne. The question wasn't just how great the tour would be. The question was, who would truly stand tallest when the lights were brightest? And as the tour began, it became clear, this wasn't just music anymore. This was legacy in motion. As the tour moved from city to city, the energy on stage was undeniable. Crowds erupted every night, singing along word for word, witnessing history unfold in real time. But behind the scenes, things were far more complicated. Fame, pride, and ambition don't always move in harmony, and when you place three of the biggest names in hip-hop in the same space, friction becomes almost inevitable. DMX brought a level of intensity that was impossible to ignore. His performances were explosive, emotional, and deeply personal. Fans connected with him on a spiritual level, and many began to see him as the heart of the tour. Meanwhile, Jay-Z maintained his composure, delivering polished, confident performances that showcased his dominance and control. He wasn't just performing, he was commanding the stage like a true mogul in the making. Nas, calm but powerful, held his ground with lyrical brilliance. His presence wasn't loud, but it was undeniable. Every verse he delivered reminded the audience why he was considered one of the greatest minds in hip-hop. But as the nights went on, subtle tensions began to rise. Questions started circulating: who should close the show? Who was getting the biggest reaction? Who truly deserved the spotlight? These weren't just small disagreements, they were reflections of deeper competitive instincts. Reports began to surface that DMX, fueled by his growing popularity and connection with fans, wanted a more prominent position in the lineup. Jay-Z, already established as a leader in the industry, wasn't about to step aside. And Nas, while more reserved, was not going to be overlooked. What started as a historic collaboration slowly turned into a quiet rivalry. Not loud arguments, not chaos, but something more subtle, and in many ways, more powerful. A silent battle for dominance, playing out night after night, city after city. The audience saw unity. But behind the curtain, it was a different story. Despite the tension, despite the competition, and despite the unspoken rivalry, the Hard Knock Life tour achieved something that few moments in music history ever have. It brought together three of the greatest artists of a generation on one stage, at the peak of their powers. DMX continued to rise, becoming one of the most dominant forces in hip-hop, with a connection to fans that felt almost unmatched. Jay-Z used this era as another stepping stone, continuing his journey toward becoming not just a rap icon, but a global business figure. And Nas remained a pillar of lyrical excellence, respected by peers and fans alike for his consistency and authenticity. Looking back, the tension that once seemed like a problem became part of the story. It added depth. It added reality. It showed that greatness doesn't always come from perfect harmony. It often comes from contrast, from competition, from the drive to be the best. The tour didn't just entertain, it defined an era. It showed the world what hip-hop could be at its highest level. 3 different styles. 3 different personalities. 1 unforgettable moment in time. And today, when people talk about hip-hop history, this tour stands as a symbol. Not just of success, but of ambition, rivalry, respect, and legacy. Because in the end, it was never just about who stood in the spotlight the longest. It was about the fact that DMX, Jay-Z, and Nas stood there together at all. And that moment became timeless.
Sieht so.